Ever since the day that you went away, you went away.
Hey, all you cool cats and kittens, it's Carole at Big Cat Rescue. Hey, all you cool cats and kittens, it's Carole at Big Cat Rescue. Hey, all you cool cats and kittens.
Hey everyone, my name is Andra. Today I'm dressed accordingly with my little friend here to talk about the docu-series phenomenon Tiger King. It took the world by surprise and by storm when they premiered it because everyone was home, so everyone binge watched it, and it's quite shocking. A quick disclaimer here, there's gonna be a lot of spoilers, so if you haven't watched it, please return after you have watched it. I'm gonna be breaking down every single character and why they are just horrible people. So I do call them characters. I know they are real life people, but hear me out. The way they act is so extra that it's just so hard to believe that these people are real. It's just so hard. I'm gonna be started off with the title character, the Tiger King, Joe Exotic. So Joe is a very good TV face. Like, he makes for good television. But if you break down everything that he does, he's just a very, very, very questionable person with almost no morals, I would say. I think everything that he was after was just the fame and success, but he didn't actually care about the tigers in his zoo. Or maybe he cared at the start, but he got so caught up in the money and the fame that he just completely forgot what it's like to care about something else in your life. He manipulated the people around him, so that's a big red flag for me, is how he manipulated all his boyfriends into staying with him. So he was in his 50s, and Travis, one of his husbands, was 19 years old. So imagine, the age gap is massive, so the power imbalance is massive, and he would feed his boyfriends with drugs to keep them by his side, and he would buy his boyfriends presents. I think at some point he said he bought one of his husband's like free trucks, like monster trucks, and that's how he would keep them by his side. A lot of them are apparently not even gay, and he just manipulated them into having a relationship with him. And he's also manipulated all of his workers in such a subtle way that you wouldn't even be able to tell. So all his workers were paid like $100 per week. That's obviously way below the minimum wage. But he would target people who were fresh out of prison or homeless or didn't have the necessary circumstances to make a good life for themselves. So he would target these like vulnerable people, and he would put these people in the zoo with the minimum salary so they could not leave, because it was enough to go by, but not enough to rent your own house or to go places like restaurants or, make friends. So they would just be at the zoo all day long. And he would just target these people on purpose. And another people or another person that he manipulated. So he manipulated his parents quite a lot, because he made his mom at some point put the zoo on her name when Carole was trying to sue him. So that ended up bankrupting his mother, who was like an old retired woman. I'm not saying Carole had no blame in this, because Carole was going after an old woman, like that's also her fault. But Joe, his character is so questionable that he would just put his mother into something like this, put his mother through hell practically, that she got to the point where he was on trial and she didn't even stay by his side because of all the pain that he's put her through. And we also find out that Joe actually did not care about his tigers as much as he claimed to, because he shot a couple of tigers, I think it was 5 or 6. And when the staff members were asked, were those tigers sick, old, dying, they said no, that he would just euthanize them, he would just shoot them to make room for more tigers in the cages. And I think that's just horrible, because if you want to euthanize an animal, there is like a little injection that is a lot more merciful, even though it is still wrong to do it with no reason, but at least the animals wouldn't feel betrayed. In that last moment of their life, they felt probably, the worst possible pain, because animals do feel loyalty. And being shot, when you realize what's going on, it's the same as if a human was shot. They would feel betrayed. If like your husband shot you or your wife shot you, like you would feel like the worst betrayal in your life. So that's what the animals went through in their last moment. He also did not care about the animals enough to invest money in them. So we talked about how he would buy drugs. He would also buy gifts for his boyfriends. He would also buy ammunition for his guns. He had a lot of guns. He would shoot randomly in the water, in the sky, at people for no reason. Every single day he would go to buy ammo. That's what the guy at the supermarket or the store or wherever he was going to buy guns claimed, that he would go there every single day. So all that money could have gone into feeding tigers, but no, he would choose to feed tigers expired meat from Walmart that he would receive in donations. So clearly he did not care enough about tigers. And I'm not even going to bring up the money that he wasted on his campaign, because that amount must be colossal, and that money could have gone into investing in the zoo instead of just building a stupid political campaign for a man who knows nothing about politics. So this is a man who has no scruples. He doesn't care about anything other than the money and the fame. He would take the tigers when they were barely born and try to sell them or use them for customers to pet and take pictures with. The tiger needs his mom for a certain number of weeks. Every animal needs their mom next to them. They need to be washed by their mom, they need to be fed by their mom, and he would just take them away. And the conditions in which the tigers were living, okay, you had bigger cages than the cages that Carole had, but how many tigers were in that big cage? There were tigers on top of tigers on top of tigers. Tigers are not meant to sleep like that. They're meant to have their own space. So even though you can say Carole's cages were too small, okay, they were too small, but her cages allowed for a tiger to have his own space individually. But Joe would just put like 20 tigers in one cage. That is not normal at all. And there's also the fact that, to prove that he only cares about the money, you can see when his staff member, Saf, I think, his arm was ripped by one of the tigers, and the only thing he said was like, I'm not going to financially recover from this. So he only cared about the money. Like, I bet my ass he didn't visit that person in hospital. I bet he did not care at all when it happened. And I'm gonna be putting this footage at some point in the video, I think maybe now, so you can see the way he's training the tigers. He admits on camera that if the tiger doesn't listen, he would pop them. So obviously that's like lightly hit them, or even not that lightly, it doesn't look like it. So I'm gonna show you the video now.
If they don't want to walk, pop him in the ass and make him walk. Okay?
But when that cat starts getting hard to handle, don't even hesitate to just pull it out. Because then is not the time to beat the shit out of that cat and make it listen.
Stop! You'll bite, okay?
Yeah, from Bill Meadows and Tiger Safari.
There's also people who are claiming that Joe Exotic is actually a raging racist, and that he asked on Facebook why he can say the N-word. I haven't looked for that proof, but it just sounds like nothing about this man is unbelievable. Like, anything you tell me about him, I will believe it instantly, because he's such a character. So he makes for really, really good TV. That's why they chose him as the protagonist, because he's very, very entertaining to watch. He's like a train wreck or a car crash. Like, you don't want to watch it, but you can't stop. Your eyes are glued to it. That's just how he is. From his reckless gun behavior to his insane look and fashion sense to just the way he speaks and gestures and his energy. He doesn't feel like a real person, does he? But you have to remember, he's a real person and he's mistreated tigers and he tried to get someone killed. Even though I do believe that it wasn't only him who did that. I don't think he was framed, but I do think that Jeff Lowe allegedly had something to do with that. I'm gonna move on to Jeff since I brought him up. I do think that he had a hand in the whole Joe trying to get Carole killed thing. I think that Jeff was the one who suggested it, even though Joe was saying it, but he was saying it in like a, just chatting shit way. Like, he wasn't genuinely trying or plotting to kill anyone. He would just hate her and he would take his anger out and he would voice it all the time and be like, oh, I wish I could kill her. But I don't think he ever actually planned to do it until maybe Jeff kind of whispered in his ear. So I think Jeff is the secret puppeteer behind the whole show, and he tried to in a way frame Joe, but I do think that they both actively planned to do this. I don't think it was only Joe by himself. I think it was definitely a team effort. And are we gonna talk about how he was a con artist and just everything was fake? His car was rented, his house was rented, and he pretended to be rich? Or how him and his wife would lure women in Vegas hotels to sleep with them by having tigers in little luggage bags to take into the hotel. Imagine if one of the tigers escaped from the room. What would they do? Because obviously they couldn't let the staff from the hotels know that there are tigers in those bags. So how would they cover themselves? Would they go after the tiger? Would they just leave the tiger there to die? Because I just don't get it. How is the tiger safe in that situation? And why would you just take the tiger for so many people to touch when they are probably on drugs and alcohol under the influence? They might hurt the tigers. Or whatever other big cats he was taking with him. It's just so questionable, his whole behavior. And the way he acts and the way his wife acts, they are both just very weird people. So one thing that really fazed me was when he said that after his wife gives birth, he's gonna send her straight to the gym. Like, have you looked at yourself? Have you? Because you don't look the best, you're not in the best shape, so why should your wife, who's clearly younger than you, look the best that she could possibly after giving birth? Like, do you know how hard it is for a woman to give birth? No, you don't, because you're a man and you're ignorant and you think that a woman can just shed all the weight that she's put on during pregnancy, like in one instant, by going to the gym. And he was very aggressive to the tigers as well. You've seen scenes like that in the documentary, and to all the big cats in general. I'm just saying tigers because the title's Tiger King, but there were other cats as well. He was very aggressive to them. He clearly does not care, and he only sees them as a thing related to his status and his appeal to the outer world. Like, it's only like a sign of respect. He doesn't actually care about the animals. And now we're gonna talk about Carole fucking Baskin. So Carole Baskin, she is a big hypocrite. So she started off by breeding big cats with her ex-husband, who's allegedly a victim of her. I don't think she killed him, but I definitely think that she knows more and that there is something shady going on there. Because, rich people, they tend to do this a lot. They will embezzle money or get into other sorts of trouble, and then they try to run away. And they change their names and they run away. And it feels like that's something that he would have done, because when one of his friends or associates or something was saying that he used to hide his money and bury his money to pretend that he was more poor than what he actually was. And to me, that screams he did not declare that money and didn't pay enough tax. So I do think there was something shady going on there, and maybe she helped him to escape and kept quiet all this time, and that's why she got the money from him. Because as it stands, we don't know how much money he had, so how do we know that she inherited all of it and he didn't take some of it with him? We don't know that. I don't think he could have fed him through tigers. It's just not practical. There would have been bones or teeth or anything found. The tigers would only eat the meat. So it just doesn't sound plausible to me, but I do think she knows where he is. And I do think that she might have helped him or blackmailed him and been the reason why he left. Maybe they got into a fight and she said, I'm gonna be telling the feds what you do, or and maybe that's why he had to run away. I do think there's something shady there, but I don't think it's murder. But I do think she's a big hypocrite, because her and her former husband used to breed tigers. So they used to do the same thing that Joe, Doc, Jeff, all of them are doing. And yet she claims she's so much above them and she's hating on them and she's trying to bring them down, but she used to do the exact same thing. And the way she met her husband as well didn't sit right with me. So you're his mistress, you're breaking a marriage and a family. I'm not saying he's blameless. Usually in cases like this, the man is 90% to blame and the woman is only 10%. But why would you entertain a man who's married? Clearly she wanted the money. I don't think they fell in love. I think she just found out this man was rich, had a wife, and was willing to cheat on his wife with her. And she entertained the idea. Even though, as I said, that's mostly his fault. It's also her fault, partially, and you can't take that away. And the living conditions for the tigers as well. She's saying that her husband, her former husband, did not care about the tigers enough and the rest of the big cats, and he would breed them, so she would try to sterilize them when he was gone on different business trips. But if that's the case, then why didn't you improve the living conditions of these big cats? Why are they still in tiny cages? Even though it's a little bit better than the other zoos that are showed in this documentary, because not everyone is having the right to touch them and just bother them all day long, like in the other zoos when you have to pet the tigers and the lions and all the big cats. At least they are not subjected to that, to constant human attention and human touch that they don't want, and at least they have their own space, so they're not like 10 cats in the same place. But that's still a tiny cage. That's still not enough. You can tell when Joe is going with the helicopter above the area, you can see how big the actual area is, and you can see it on the map when Jeff and Joe are like talking about, or whoever was talking about killing Carole. They would have the map of like where she's going with the bicycle. So I assume a lot of that land is probably owned by her organization. So why are you not expanding the environment in which these big cats are living? And why are you going after innocent people like all of Joe's family? They probably didn't even know what they were getting themselves into when they signed the zoo on their name. So you're spending all that money on lawsuits trying to bring someone down, instead of spending the money on better living conditions for your cats and just going forward to help the Congress to ban the big cat ownership or whatever law you want to pass on. Because I know she was actively working on that, but it didn't feel like she was prioritizing that. It felt like she was prioritizing bringing down her enemies. And just her reaction at the end shows that. Because I understand you are happy this man who tried to kill you is now in prison and you are safe. But the fact that you are happy for another man being in prison, openly on camera, like I could never. I would be relieved, but I wouldn't be, like if I was in her situation, let's say, I wouldn't open champagne in front of the camera and like celebrating and being happy. I would just be like, I'm so relieved that this has happened because now I feel safe. But it was almost like she was happy that she took her revenge. It wasn't about her safety, it wasn't about putting a dangerous man behind bars, it was about her personal vendetta, and that just didn't sit right with me. And her husband, her current husband, is just as bad as her, I think, in my opinion. I've also seen one thing about this organization that I follow on Instagram. It's like a legit sanctuary, like you can watch. They show the felines having a lot of space. So they have little pools, like kind of ponds, so they can swim in it. They have a lot of green space. It almost feels like the real thing. Obviously you cannot release these animals into the wild because they've been recovered and saved from circuses, from private owners, so they don't know how to live in the wild. But he would put them in spaces that are comfortable There are still fenced areas. Obviously, you don't want them to escape and kill people. But they are big. They don't feel like cages. They do feel like a natural reservation. So this organization is called Black Jaguar, White Tiger on Instagram. I think they have a Facebook page as well. And the main owner of it, so this is like a non-profit, and the guy who owns it, his name is Ed, I think. He said that he's had problems with Carole Baskin in the past because Carole was trying to kind of defame him online by saying that he doesn't have the necessary permits, and I'm not too sure on the terminology, but I'm gonna be putting it on screen. Basically, what he said is that these accreditations are something that her Big Cat Rescue is the first one on the page, like when you open the website for this type of accreditation. So clearly there is something personal going on there, and his sanctuary is based in Mexico, and then hers is in America, obviously. So you don't need the same accreditations in Mexico as you do in America. So for him it's completely unnecessary to have it, but she tried to make it sound like he's not legit because he doesn't have that, but it's not, it's a different legal requirement in his country, so I don't understand that. And she's got the backing of PETA, obviously, which we know a lot of shady things are happening at PETA, and it's not a perfect organization. And instantly when I was watching the documentary, I was like, I'm on Carole's side. And then when I heard PETA is backing her up, I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna be questioning myself, and I don't think I'm gonna be on her side anymore, because I know that they do kill their animals and they do a lot of hypocritical things as well. So yeah, probably that's why she's with them, because she does strike me as a hypocrite, like having watched the whole thing. And then lastly, we're gonna be talking about probably the shadiest of them all, who is Doc Antle. So when I heard about this whole, I have a lot of wives whose names I have changed into different names, whose appearance I have changed, who all live in this farm-like area together, and I'm making them do things that they don't want to do. It actually made me think of a certain person who I'm not going to be named because he does not deserve to be named, but he's a cult leader. And I was thinking, yeah, is Doc Antle gonna kill like a pregnant Hollywood actress as well? Because that's what it reminded me of. And just the fact that one of these women came forward and said that he forced her to have breast surgery and to make her look more appealing, to get more customers. So he was using this women's beauty and sexuality to get more customers to come. And he would use these women being virgins to form a connection with them. So obviously that's very cult-like, because cults do have an obsession with virgins and virgin sacrifice. And they do target young teenage girls for cults because they are very impersonable. And it's just all wrong. Everything, if you watch everything, Doc Antle, he's this slimy old man, so he must be a genius to manage to manipulate these women, because he's not good looking. I don't think he's the most intelligent person. He just strikes me as this guy who smokes weed every day and has gone to India once and found himself, like the fake woke person on the internet who's like, yeah, I'm going to volunteer in Thailand because I care about people and I smoke weed every day and I'm a true hippie. I love Bob Marley. I only listen to hippie music. He's like that. He's just horrible. He's just such a fake woke persona that I've never understood this kind of people. And I actually know a couple of them like this. And the way they speak, like they know everything in the world, but they're actually only saying pure nonsense 24/7, just nonsense. That's how he is. He's a doctor in like occult sciences or something like that. Like, relax, okay, it's good to know these things, but that's a part of why he's so creepy. I think he knows a lot of this creepy stuff from his studies, and he's using that to manipulate people. The guy's a genius, but for the wrong reasons, And a lot of things about him unravel in the last episode, when he's talking about, was it the last episode or the one before last? I don't remember. He's talking about the whole hitman thing with Joe Exotic trying to get Carole killed, and he's saying, oh, he paid $3,000 for a hitman. I'm sure it's like 100,000 at least. So I was just like, you know a lot about hitmen, don't you? Like, that's a bit suspicious, I think. And just Joe is like exposing him in the last episode. He's like, oh, Doc Antle kills his cats when they get too big to be useful for him for the whole petting and taking pictures, because obviously at some point they're going to get too big, they're going to be dangerous, and you're not going to be able to keep them near people, because the whole Saf incident is going to repeat but with customers. So he would apparently kill them, and that's not that hard to believe, because where would he put so many? We barely see the space, but it looks tiny in what the footage they have shown. You know, it looks tiny. I would love to see a documentary just about him, because I think he's the most messed up of them all, but he's the least shown. I think he's a very private person, and I don't know how he managed to evade the system so long, and then Joe got caught, but he didn't. I wish he gets caught. I think him and Jeff deserve to be in prison. I don't know about Carole though, because Carole is trying to get that law passed on to the Congress, which is going to help the big cats in the long run, so I think she needs to stay free until she can do that at least. But them two, definitely something shady is going on, especially with Doc. And another thing which was barely mentioned is Doc Antle has bred ligers, and if you know anything about big cats, the liger is from, I think, a lion dad, tiger mom, and they have a lot of genetic problems, so they are more predisposed to organ failure, cancer, heart problems, and generally a shorter lifespan than a normal like big cat, a normal feline. And he was intentionally breeding this, which is considered abnormal, and every organization, even PETA, is saying don't do that, because that's messed up, because they end up being a lot bigger than the normal feline, to the point where the babies are born, like the cubs, they are born massive. So it ends up being a situation where they need to C-section the mother to get the cub out, because it's too big for her to actually naturally give birth like an animal. So a lot of these mothers don't survive. So the babies are born overweight, and they grow massively, as I said. And they're all sterile, because it's not meant to happen. So that's nature's way of saying, you know, don't do this. It's the same way when you breed, is it donkeys and horses, and I don't know.
2,000 years later.
It's called a hinny. So a hinny is like a horse and a donkey bred together, and they are sterile, because that's nature's way of saying this is not meant to happen. We're not going to pass these genes on because it's dangerous. And because of the differences, the genetic differences between different species, their babies are going to have obviously a lot of health problems, like I've just named a few before, but there are a lot more potential problems. So if you go on the website for the Myrtle Beach, I don't know what it's called, like Dog's Business, it's like Myrtle Beach Sanctuary or something. If you go on that website, you're gonna see a picture of the liger, and I mean, that's just a horrible thing, and everyone knows that's a natural anomaly and you shouldn't breed them, and apparently he's attempted to do that numerous times. So yeah, they're all horrible people. Doc is on the top. In my opinion, Doc is the worst one of them all. And the fact that he managed to stay low-key for so long is just, you know, the man's a genius, because he's keeping people enthralled, and these women, I don't know what they see in him, but there must be something. So there's a way that he's brainwashing all these people for sure. We just don't know what it is. And they get overworked so much to the point that that woman was relieved that she could have plastic surgery that she didn't even want, just because she could rest for a few days. And it's the same for Joe, paying them $100 a week, and Carole wasn't paying them at all. So imagine you're someone with Carole Baskin's money and you get people to volunteer, but okay, they don't volunteer. You know, a normal person who volunteers would volunteer 2 hours a day, 3 days a week, kind of thing, like a few hours, you know. No, this is a full-time job for them, sometimes 12 hours. They would volunteer every day of the week, no free time, where do these people get their income from? Like, if you're volunteering all the time, where do you get your actual money from? And the fact that she didn't even know these people. So they would come out of their love for the big cats, and because they thought that she was a genuine person and she was fighting against zoos and against cruel organizations, they would come to her and she wouldn't even know who they are. They would have color-coded t-shirts to, you know, if you get a certain color t-shirt, it's like a badge of pride. You wear it to make you feel good. It's like this confidence boost that she was using, you know, she was using this t-shirt as a confidence boost for people. She was trying to get them to work harder and harder and harder to get a different color t-shirt, to be in with the cool crowd who have this color. And she would only acknowledge them when they get to a certain rank. And all these people are volunteering for you. They're full-time. That's their life, and they are volunteering. And you don't care enough to even remember who they are. And you earn a lot of like that good Facebook, YouTube, whatever money, because she has a big following, so I'm sure she's earning internet money. And she's not paying them. It's just so questionable. And Joe and Doc as well, but that's somehow, you know, even worse, because you know she's rich. Like, Joe is poor. She's feeding people expired Walmart meat, which is still horrible, because how does he have money for drugs? How does he have money for guns? But he doesn't have like a big inheritance from his dead spouse like she does. And Doc Antle, I don't know about his money, how well he's doing financially, because he does have money for plastic surgery. So that's still a bit questionable. But, you know, at least they are paying people even this much. Carole is just making people volunteer, not giving them the proper respect that you would for someone who's dedicating their lives to you for free. You should know their names. And yeah, they are all horrible people. They don't feel like real people. Watching this, it feels like this exaggerated fiction. And it feels surreal that we live on the same planet with these people who think that, you know, they can get away with all the wrong things that they are doing. And I'm glad that this documentary has exposed them, because I feel like the documentary attempted to somehow make Joe sympathetic throughout, just so you can get the big reveal at the end, which kind of shatters everything you thought about him. So he makes him, they make him sympathetic with the whole Thanksgiving thing, with his reaction to when his husband shot himself, which, by the way, can we talk about that? That guy was always on drugs, always around guns, because Joe was obsessed with guns. Obviously, disaster was bound to happen. Like, I'm sorry that it happened. It was shocking for me. It made me so sad. But that was Joe's fault partially, because of all the environment that he was exposing these people to, you know. It's just horrible. And they show all these things happening to Joe to make him human. And then when you find out he's killed tigers for no reason at the end, it just becomes, you know, like this shock value, big plot twist that no one saw coming, is this guy didn't actually love his tigers. And I think that's a good choice, because it makes us see that it's so easy to fall for a charming person and to sympathize with them, even though you have all the red flags in front of you. But because they are funny and chatty, and, you know, you get to like them. And they didn't offer the same to the other characters. They just made them look horrible from the start. But at the same time, I'm happy that they shed light on all the issues going on. I was thinking, you know, all the like social media industry is so competitive and there's so much drama going on, and yet in the big cat industry there's like 10 times more drama, because imagine if YouTubers sent hitmen like after each other. Just, that's something just horrible going on there. And just, oh my god, when I saw it I was shocked, because I didn't know. And when that guy whose Sanctuary I'm following, that Ed from Black Tiger White Jaguar, that's not right, Black Jaguar White Tiger, when he posted that he had problems with Carole Baskin in the past, I was like, oh my god, she's going after people from Mexico, from the other side of the continent. Well, if you count South and North America as two different continents, then she's going after someone from a different continent. But like, oh my god, this woman, she just wants to be the only one making the money. She wants to be the only one in the industry. That's what it is. But yeah, I could talk about this for hours, but I feel like that's the right time to end. All of them are questionable people, and you as a viewer should not support circuses, zoos, just any place where you think that the animals are not treated in the best possible way. You should stay far away from that, and don't give your money to people like Joe, Carole, even Carole. Don't give your money to those people. Go to an actual legit sanctuary, and if you want to volunteer your time, if you want to give your money, help these animals, because a lot of them are not able to be released into the wild. They're not going to survive. But having a spacious home for them, even if it's a fenced area, is a very, very good alternative, and unfortunately the only good choice in a situation like this. So please consider that, consider donating, consider following these people. I've already named one good association like that. I'm going to be linking it in my description. Follow them, and there are plenty of others, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, this was my video for today. If you liked it, please hit that subscribe button. My channel is still new. You can like, comment, let me know what you think. What did you think about Tiger King if you watched it? I think it was amazing, but at the same time shockingly bad how, you know, the people were acting. Not the documentary itself, just the people in it. They were very, very bad. But yeah, so please subscribe. Please let me know if you're looking for any other commentary on just anything. I know I talked fast. I got a little carried away because man, it angered me, you know what was going on there. It just angered me because these people are getting away with so much. Like Joe didn't, but the rest of them did. So yeah, anyways, I'll see you guys around. Thank you for watching. My name's Andra. Please subscribe for more.
Ever since the day that you